What happens when two royals decide midnight is the perfect hour for a jailbreak armed only with a battered duffel, a piece of Diana's legend, and a hunger for Hollywood gold? Fasten your seatbelt, because this isn't a fairy tale exit. It's a jewel heist getaway lit by paparazzi flashbulbs and powered by pure defiance. Kensington Palace, normally embalmed in silence after the last chandelier flickers out, suddenly pulsed like a secret nightclub on the brink of dawn. Suit bags hissed across parquet floors, medals clinked against desert-scuffed boots, and an aquamarine shard of history slipped between silk blouses destined for exile. At 12:47 a.m. the Duke and Duchess of Sussex burst through the wrought iron gates, Meghan's coat flaring like a superhero cape, Harry's baseball cap tilting just enough to hide the prince and reveal the rebel. 100 lenses fired, missed, turned to diamond dust, and centuries of protocol were shredded in real time. 8 hours later, jet-lagged, exhilarated, uninsulated, they stepped onto California concrete, straight into a bidding war of streaming giants, publicists, and political crosshairs. The escape was flawless. The aftershocks had only begun. Kensington Palace, usually hush after the last footman dims the chandeliers, was alive with frantic, forbidden energy. Antique corridors echoed with the zip of luggage wheels and the faint clatter of coat hangers as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex stripped their wardrobes down to essentials. Harry's battered duffel emblazoned with regimental crests lay splayed on the parquet, swallowing a disorienting mix of rugby hoodies, sand-scuffed desert boots, and gleaming medals that once pinned him, literally, to Britain's martial mythology. Nearby, Meghan knelt beside a monogrammed trunk the size of a steamer chest. Inside, she layered slinky couture, yoga leggings, a small forest of children's books, and quietly slipped between silk blouses her late mother-in-law's aquamarine ring, a neon chart of Diana's legend, now stowed for exile. They had rehearsed this moment as if it were the climactic scene of a heist film. Staff were dismissed early, security rotations mapped, paparazzi trackers pinged. Still, neither had counted on the visceral thrill of open defiance. At 12:47 a.m., they wheeled past the ornate gates, ignoring the tunnel of servants' doors that would have spared them the flashes. Meghan's coat collar flared in the night wind like a heroine's cape. Harry's baseball cap shadowed his copper beard. 100 lenses fired in sync, freezing droplets of mist over the cobblestones so each photograph looked dusted with diamonds. For onlookers, the images felt epical. Two royals fleeing in plain sight, ripping centuries of protocol like confetti. Within an hour, they traded London drizzle for the antiseptic glow of Heathrow's Terminal 5, where their departure lounge felt more clandestine than any VIP suite. Harry, jittery with adrenaline, paced beneath adverts for duty-free whiskey while Meghan texted a U.S. publicist about possible breakfast availability with Oprah ASAP. Finally, the intercom crackled, and they boarded a crimson-tailed jet. No private charter this time, but commercial business class. As the aircraft shuddered down the runway, Harry glanced out at the shrinking terminal and murmured, half to himself, "Cheerio, heirlooms." Meghan squeezed his hand. 8 airborne hours later, with dawn coloring the Pacific pink, they stepped into Los Angeles International just as the first paparazzi of the new world raised their cameras. If London had been an Edwardian novel ending on a comma, La felt like a glossy pilot episode. Bougainvillea spilled over stucco walls, and the ochre sunrise bathed everything in an Instagram filter marked opportunity. To friends, they repeated a mantra: agency, mental health, purpose, but inside the arrivals hall, their phones detonated with a different vocabulary. Option: text from a veteran talent agent, already envisioning a Sussex cinematic universe. Package deal: unscripted, back-end points email subject lines from a streaming rival. Monetize, monetize, monetize voice note from a social media strategist who priced Meghan's future skincare line before she'd found a toothbrush. By the time they reached their temporary hideout, a borrowed Tuscan-style villa above Montecito's Butterfly Beaches, the Oprah team was blocking her veranda for a 2-shot interview. Spotify couriers were biking platinum-plated microphones up the hill, and Netflix attorneys were faxing NDAs thicker than royal biographies. Trade journals drank every rumor like champagne, predicting the couple would vault to Bezos-adjacent wealth before Harry could memorize a California zip code. Yet La'e's golden hills are carved by seismic plates, and under the Hollywood talcum light, they began to feel the first tremors. The trigger: America's 2024 election cycle, a carnival of red caps and cable chirons. One gusty March afternoon in Orlando, Donald Trump ripped off script, brandishing Harry's immigration file as if it were prop comedy. He claimed the prince had sidestepped drug use disclosures, called him Cocaine Windsor, and vowed to put him on the next red-eye back to Heathrow. Crowds roared. Fox News clipped. Twitter howled. Overnight, Deportation trended harder than any Sussex brand reveal. now under Secret Service strength Klieg lights. Every move the couple made looked less like glamour and more like potential evidence. Their Malibu hideaway drew drone photographers, immigration lawyers, smelling billable hours, offered cable news commentary about Section 212 inadmissibility and punitive ray exams. Suddenly, the archetype of reinvention Britain's rebel prince surfing California freedom felt precarious, one subpoena away from a very public unraveling. Simultaneously, London tabloids pulsed with a different outrage. Having shed the "her" from his business cards, Harry nevertheless sued the Home Office for the same taxpayer-funded bodyguards granted to senior working royals. To households already juggling post-Brexit cost of living spikes, the demand landed like a bad joke. Princess Anne, the hardest-working Windsor, pays half her own detail, and Prince Andrew demoted after scandal guards himself with private cash. Harry's insistence read less like legitimate caution than a gilded toddler refusing to relinquish a favorite toy. Trial filings leaked to Fleet Street in installments. One day, spreadsheets of projected security costs. The next, emails in which Harry's lawyers threatened to subpoena cabinet ministers. Each revelation hardened public sentiment. Editorials asked why a duke who decried monarchies invisible contract still wanted its diamond-studded bennies. Then came the corporate stings. Spotify, which had trumpeted a multi-year Sussex podcast empire, canceled after 12 episodes, half of them intro chats. At a financial summit, a senior executive quipped that the couple ghost-produced fluff and called it substance. The clip went viral, making grifters the unofficial new Sussex tag. Netflix trimmed budgets, iced a planned animated series, and rescheduled meetings. Meghan's much-hyped artisanal jam dropped online at $40 a jar and sold out in 45 minutes. Lifestyle bloggers applauded until an insider whispered the first batch totaled 50 jars, half gifted to influencers, none Usta-approved. Headlines pivoted from sold-out sensation to PR marmalade. Despite those bruises, the financial runway still looked long on paper. Harry's inheritance stood in the low eight figures. The Montecito estate, draped in jasmine, might fetch $20 million. Yet Hollywood burn rates are legendary. Each month devoured $150K in property taxes and maintenance, $80K for a security retainer covering 3 continents, $50K for a communications team monitoring sentiment spikes, $40K for private tutors and Montessori fees, $30K for travel, stylists, and carbon offset PR donations, and the periodic $300,000 private jet splurge to New York or Genevieve dinner. Their new accountant delivered the cold metric. At current lifestyle velocity, your liquidity runway is maybe 5 years, assuming nothing goes wrong. Harry downed his biodynamic Pinot, whispering, "Nothing ever goes right in Montecito." Meghan stared out at the infinity pool and rehearsed smiles for tomorrow's brand summit. Meanwhile, 5,000 miles east, William and Catherine kept a staccato schedule of children's hospice openings, earthshot innovations, and low-key school-run photo ops. Time magazine crowned them among its 100 most influential for relentless, measurable impact. The Sussexes, by contrast, logged about 60 minutes a week overseeing Archewell. IRS filings recorded 6-figure donations in, 5-figure grants out, and millions sitting unused. Social impact analysts noted the imbalance. Archewell looks more mood board than engine. Complicating the ledger was the fog around Oprah's blockbuster interview. Gossip sites hinted that a 7-figure philanthropic donation preceded filming. No one confirmed. Then Archewell's public 2024 statements revealed a $250,000 grant to Ashley Biden's nonprofit. Conservative watchdogs pounced. Quid pro quo. Influence purchase. The Heritage Foundation filed FOIA suits for Harry's visa, labeling it celebrity exception syndrome. If he lied on forms, deportation loomed. If he told the truth yet skirted policy, preferential treatment charges followed. Either pathway threatened headlines big enough to crater brand equity in both hemispheres. Harry's earlier philanthropic crown jewel, Centibale, reported major donor attrition as fundraisers struggled to sell gala tables tied to a prince mired in personal litigation. African parks faced claims of heavy-handed eviction of local villagers, stories that traveled from NGO forums to The Guardian in weeks. Even the Invictus Games, once bulletproof in moral capital, saw sponsors quietly delay renewals, uneasy about the founders' swirling controversies. Inside Buckingham, King Charles III consulted palace accountants and PR advisors almost daily. He'd already drilled personal savings to cover Harry's first-year security abroad, nearly £5 million. Courtiers now warned, another bailout sets a precedent, sire. At night, Charles paced tapestried hallways, dreading 2 possibilities: a bankrupt son re-entering Britain in tabloid tatters, or a bitter son dragging monarchy finances through court discovery. Neither fit the streamlined modern crown he envisioned, yet public polling barely shivered. Support for William and Catherine stayed north of 70%. For Harry and Meghan, south of 30. Even moderate Republicans conceded the monarchy nets Britain roughly £2.5 billion a year tourism, merchandising, global media rights at a cost of about £500 million. One rogue duke does not sink that P&L, and so the palace fod quarried limestone cloaked in renovation mesh stood as a mute caution. Its scaffolding whispered monarchy's iron axiom: duty outlives discontent. Harry had vaulted off the high wire into Hollywood's trapeze net, only to find the mesh already fraying. Now, the Sussex saga circles a Hollywood roundtable. Streaming execs ask, do we green light season 2? Redemption arcs test well, so does tragedy. Meanwhile, Harry stands on a Malibu bluff, golden light burning his silhouette into pop culture silhouette. He thumbs through legal emails, hears the security SUV engine idle, watches tidal foam gnaw the sand. Somewhere behind him, more memory than geography, the palace gate sits unlocked, carpetless, patient. The invitation remains, but the applause, if it ever returns, will be standing room only and strictly earned, one unglamorous day of service at a time.